And where else are you popular in, then? Are you popular on the continent?
Well, really, out of all the places we've ever played, I mean, Britain is the place where I think we've been least popular on a global level, you know, in terms of the men in the street knowing who we were, because really, we were only fashionable and popular in Britain during the year 68. After 68, we started getting knocked by the critics, and that really has continued, you know, without much change to the present day. But that's okay, because we have a nucleus of fans in Britain who are very loyal, I mean, more so than anywhere else in the world, and particularly in the industrial parts of Britain. Not so much in London, but, you know, when you get into Newcastle and Manchester and Birmingham, I mean, it's more the industrial parts that you know, we have this sort of grassroots following that is very fundamental, and they've been very loyal to us.
Do you still get some youngsters coming to the shows then? All right, we've not embarked on the British tour yet. But,
well, last time around the audience looked, with the possible exception of London where it's a little older, but the audience always appears to be in its, roughly speaking, in its mid-20s. Now, when we very first started playing, it was what was described as a university audience. I don't believe most of them did go to university. Some of them might have gone to polytechnics or whatever, but it was described as a university audience, but they were people, I would say, in their early 20s. So I think our audience age group appears to be the same. It is actually, to me, distinctly worrying, because I look 20 years older than I did then. Every time I see an audience, wherever it is, with the possible exception of London and maybe Los Angeles, but everywhere else, the audience looks just the same as it did in you know, in the late 60s, early 70s. It always seems to be the same age. It's almost as if they've been, you know, picked up en masse by an alien life form and sort of kept in suspended animation and dropped back in to do our concerts. Clearly they are then not the same people, or they have some secret that allows them to apparently not age, that they share only with Cliff Richard, except for Cliff's neck, which is aging faster than the rest of them, as you may have noticed. But, scrawny, getting a bit scrawny, poor old Cliff. But basically the audience must be therefore renewing. We must be getting new people coming in at the bottom end, and at the top end they don't come to rock concerts anymore.
They're probably fed up with listening to the pop stuff on the radio.
I think the thing is that a lot of kids, particularly in America, who are 15, 16, 18, 20 or whatever, they hear Jethro Tull, Led Zeppelin, Jimi Hendrix and so on still being played on FM radio in America. And though they might not have been born, or might have only been 2 or 3 or 4 years old when we started, they hear the music and they say, well, there's something in here that we like. There's something that actually does draw us to it, even though it's not music of our era. And they like it. They buy the records. They then go back and discover the older records and buy those. Yeah. And you've got this sort of slightly self-renewing audience. But it doesn't renew clearly quite as fast as we lose the folk at the top end, who, as I say, the pressures of mortgages do then tend to take precedence over, you know, going out to, you know, queuing for a ticket or trying to get in some wretched stadium and battling with, you know, 10,000 people to try and find a seat or something.
Nevertheless, they should still go out and buy Crest of a Knave, the new album. When was it recorded?
One would hope they would, yes. It was recorded in the... started at the end of last year and then sort of recorded in, you know, bits and pieces over the first 4 or 5 months of this year. In between my sort of, you know, trips up north, because I'm always at the same time carrying on with the, you know, my sort of... fish farming business and all the rest of it.
All the songs written by Ian Anderson, of course. And just featuring 2 musicians, sort of, you got 2 regulars, Martin and Dave. So how did you, I mean, did you use the drum machine for the drumming, or what? What was the situation there? Recorded in a little studio with a white door. No, it used to have a white door, didn't it?
It used to have a white door. It's now been replaced. I mean, it's a studio that I have at home in England. Because I used to, I mean, in the late 70s, I built a couple of studios in London, which I then decided I was spending 4 hours travelling to and from for every session, so I decided to get rid of that and build a little studio at home, and that's where we work. Martin and Dave also have 16-track studios at their homes, which they rent out to other people as well, so they also know about engineering. Therefore, when it came to doing this album, we decided we wouldn't work with a producer or engineers or anything at all. We'd just do it ourselves. And we rehearsed in December last year with Doan Perry, who came over to play drums at all the rehearsals, so we could, you know, work out all the arrangements. And then we went in and started recording backing tracks, not only with Doan's drums, but also with Jerry Conway, who played with us in 1982 for a bit. And I played all the keyboards, although on the upcoming tour, it's me, Martin and Dave, plus Doan Perry on the drums and Don Airy on keyboards. Don Airy was last or has played with
He's played with everybody.
Gary Moore and
Rainbow,
Richie and all those other people. So he knows how to keep out of the way guitars.
Yeah, it's very much a guitar-oriented album, though, isn't it?
Well, it was deliberately, contrived to be so. We've tried to sort of make it a group thing by having all the guys in the group be involved in the arrangements and helping to write bits of songs and all the rest of it. And that's okay, and you would think that that would get you more towards a kind of group sound, a more of a group-sounding album, as opposed to just being an Ian Anderson album. But in fact, it doesn't really work that way, because what I do best is the writing and the arranging, and what Martin, for example, does best is playing. And therefore, I'm really trying to employ my talents, such as they are, to try and create the framework in fairly precise terms, whereby what Dave plays and what Martin plays, that they can actually be at their best. Whereas if they're trying to help with arrangements and songwriting, I think we just dilute the effect. So I was very selfish about putting this album together and trying to make an album that I wanted to make, with a feel and a style that I wanted to arrive at, but writing very much with Martin in mind, in order that the guitar could be the very much more to the fore, and to keep the keyboards and the sort of the electronic sounds and the sequences and things, sort of only, very much in a supporting role, and only there when they actually needed to be there in order to set the mood for what I think are the important things, which are really guitar and flute.